Alright, here we go with applying our eighth notes to our strumming. Now, we're going to keep the metronome on 60, and what we're going to do is we're going to look, there's a couple ways you can play eighth notes consistently. Remember that the eighth note is half of a beat, so there's 2 eighth notes per metronome click. Now, the 2 ways that I like to think about eighth notes, there's the straight down strum eighth note, which is it's kind of driving. You know, if you're playing something more like that sort of deal, where it's more of a rock thing, and you want the music to be really edgy and propulsive. Usually, I'll use the straight eighth note thing for that. If I'm looking for something that's a little bit more open sounding, actually use an alternating strum, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about more today. Now, the thing is that we're gonna play eighth notes with the metronome. You're tapping your foot with the metronome, just like everything else we do. You always want to have that quarter note going. And what we're going to do is we're going to strum down on down beats and up on up beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you're always feeling the quarter note, and your hand is always feeling the eighth notes, even if you're not playing the time. Alright. So if we were to play just a G chord, good old-fashioned G, where you've got, you can take a look at that guy right here. I'll play it 4th finger on the 3rd fret, 1st string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, 1st finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, middle finger on the 3rd fret, 6th string. So that's a big old G major chord. We'll just use that for our example. First thing we're going to do is we're going to play quarter notes with the metronome. 2, 3, 4, and just down strums. 2, 3. This is exercise number 1. Now, the exercise is, in case you're seeing this without seeing the eighth note exercise that, or video that predates this, it's from this book, Foundations from Guitar. It's my guitar book, and this is page 24. If you don't have the book, that's okay, because there's a printable PDF of this on my website, markweenguitarlessons.com or foundationsforguitar.com. Okay, so we've done quarter notes, which is exercise number 1, just straight down strums. Now what we're going to do is, whether I'm playing quarter notes or if I'm playing eighth notes, the hand doesn't really change. Even though I'm playing twice as many notes, I'm taking advantage of that up motion. Alright, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if we go down to exercise number 4, which is a quarter note, 2 eighth notes, quarter note, and 2 eighth notes, it's going to basically look the same. I'm just not hitting the strings on the and or upbeat of 1 and the and or upbeat of 3. So you'll have this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's number 4. If we had something in 3/4 time, like exercise number 5, we have 3 beats in a measure. In this case, we have a quarter note and then 2 beats of eighth notes. So it'll be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and we'll just repeat that. So I'll do this a couple times. 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. If we were to have a rhythm with a tie, or something where we're not playing on one of the downbeats, you still have to keep the arm in motion. If I was to do something like this, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Notice that my hand was still moving down on beat 3 even though I wasn't hitting the strings. Okay, do it from this angle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and The idea is if you keep this consistent all the way through, you're always going to be feeling the eighth notes. You do the same thing with 16th notes. This lesson doesn't really get into them. But if I was playing something a little bit quicker and funkier, alright, all of that different rhythms coming out of the guitar, but I'm just keeping this going consistently. You feel every subdivision, and the rhythms that you do play will be in time. And that's kind of the key to this, is just making sure that you're doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, and this is actually, well, I'll give you part of song exercise number 1 in the book. And what we've got is we're going G, C, and D. We'll have 2 measures of G, a measure of C, and a measure of D at 60 beats a minute. And the rhythm is 2 quarter notes, beats 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 and, which would be 2 beats worth of eighth notes. So what we'll have, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and we'll repeat it. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then C. I'm also going to give you a variation where you've got the tied rhythm, the thing I just did where you're not playing on the downbeat of 3. So we'll use the same chord progression, be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and one more time. Alright, so those are going to be the two strumming examples. The idea, you especially want it so that you know your chords well enough that you can strum from one chord to the next without having to stop. You don't want to be keeping this going and then have to stop the right hand in order to go from the G to the C chord. So if you need to practice those 2 chords without strumming, that's probably a good idea, just going from one to the other. Do it about 25 or 50 times even, because the repetition is what gets it, and then go back to the exercise. Anytime you have a problem with the rhythm that has to do with the fact that this hand needs a little bit more time to get from chord to chord, work on that. The one thing you don't want to get in the habit of doing is stopping this hand to let this hand get to the right place. So if it means keeping this strum going all the time, your left hand will eventually catch up with it, and that's one thing that you really want to keep in mind. If you stop this hand from strumming every time you need to make a chord change, it's real difficult to counteract that. You're basically training this hand not to play time consistently. But if you actually keep this going, you'll force this hand to actually play catch up, and it'll actually work pretty good.